Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Ken. This is HSP 426, Food and Beverage Management. And today we are talking about the simulation practice. And this is the food truck simulation. As you can see, this simulation have a broad introduction, giving you a little detail on the first page about what is the background for this simulation, so you're aware of what to do with each section, and then when you scroll top on the middle, the report section, as you can see, I expanded all the reports, so that will show you what this all report does. So the purpose of this simulation is basically utilize all the information provided to you, trying to find the best strategy and trying to gain the overall profit for this food truck simulation. And you are basically running the operation, and there's a different way to do so, and different strategy will result to a different ending result. So basically, you want to utilize all this information very extensively because they provide a lot of useful information, and that will determine how you choose your strategy. Um, as you can see, basically, so on the right side, it provides you three different methods. You can either do food truck, push car, or you can purchase a research to get a little more insight on the market. So you have a three different way within the 5 week. Over here, you show you 5 week different span. However, you can only make each decision based on what type of method you choose. If you're using food truck, then that will take up the whole week. But if you want to choose to push cart, you can change daily on the operation. Next on the menu, you have a three different type of item: ice cream, frozen yogurt, and smoothie. And you want to based on you find out the information from all those in report to decide which item you want to sell. And also, finally, you have a location. The 6 different location is also provides you the little more insight on what you wanted to do, and on each of the location, and give you each different result based on the product you use and the strategy you use. As you can see, based on my practice, I did a fairly well with the strategy I chose. Obviously, different person doing a different strategy, and then the overall goal is to trying to achieve the best overall profit. And we will go back to the market data. Because, like I said, this information provides extensive amount of useful information, so you can determine what do you want to do to run your food truck operation. So as you can see, the first report is a frozen industry report. So from this information, my most takeaway is understand that frozen treat from the food service, it's getting increasingly gaining the market share over the whole industry. And as you can see, food service is at 45% compared to the whole industry, 59% under the ice cream section. And similarly, you have frozen yogurt and others. Also, you can see food service have the increasing percentage compared to the industry. And based on the trends, you understand that the health consciousness, increased health consciousness is shifting taste preferences towards frozen yogurt, smoothie, and other perceived to be less unhealthy. So my takeaway from that is, if I want to run my operation, I definitely want to consider frozen yogurt and smoothie more than ice cream. However, keep in mind that does not mean you don't use ice cream as one of your product to sell. Going down, go to local competition. This is, for me, I feel like it's the most important information provided in this whole report section. Because if you read it, it provides you the information saying that this is the first year Boomtown has issued a food truck license. So basically, that's telling you that you are privileged to have the food truck license to utilize. So you want to take advantage of that because, as you see, only one of the five. You have one of the only five offered, and other fours are not related to frozen treat. So you definitely want to take advantage of that, and based on the spread out the location and then what other food truck or what other establishment are doing. And as you can see, downtown, city market, train station, arts district, university, and beach all spread out have a different type of whether it's a store, it's a stand, or as you can see, university have none of them. So you want to analyze that information and find out what will be the best location to start with your operation. And then the third one, food traffic by subway stop. This basically give you the information on you consider what would it give you provides you the pedestrian traffic or overall food traffic. So that way you know what's the volume you can expect at each location. So you want to take a detailed look at this information and find out what will be the best way to utilize each location. And moving on to the next section is a frozen treat sales by demographic. So this section compared to, as you can see, the first section here, frozen industry report. It gives you hand-in-hand information on what the whole industries are doing, and then based on different three type of item, and you can make a decision, see what would I want to do, what type of item do I want to sell on my food truck operation. And moving a little down here is a basically expand the information for ice cream, frozen yogurt, and smoothie. Different product was a different demographic, what they prefer. As you can see, the children and definitely prefer the ice cream overall compared to the other two. And then moving on to the young adult, it's relatively close between ice cream and frozen yogurt. And when it comes to adults, it's also similar, pretty close numbers. So you don't really see there's a big advantage on either category. And when you come to senior, and back to the ice cream being dominant over frozen yogurt and smoothie. So those information you also want to consider when deciding based on over here each location, what type of whether it's a ice cream, smoothie, or frozen yogurt, what type of a product they offer, and also based on what they prefer, and you want to use what type of item to sell on your food truck operation. And then trends explained by four different category, and you want to read into that and find out. It kind of explain a little in detail what each demographic prefer, and you want to put that into consideration when you make your decision. And then moving down to the by location, this also gives you insight on each location, what type of a demographic usually appear in that location. So this supporting information, give you another look on what should I decide which product to sell on each location based on the demographic. Will they buy it? And based on your competition over here, what will be the best one to implement in that location? And finally, you have a sales by location. This one just pretty straightforward, tells you each location, what is their overall sales, and you want to use that as of a supportive information to consider as well. So back to the food truck operation. So basically, my strategy is, as you can see, let's go to the observation section. As you can see, the first week, first of all, I want to say that I did not choose to use a push cart. And also, I did not purchase any market research in the beginning. Is because I wanted to based on the information I analyzed, I wanted to take the chance to maximum my operation time frame. So that way, I don't have to switch strategy every day, because I feel like based on the given information, the push cart is going to be daily operation. However, it does not provide the max revenue. So I don't think that'll be the great way to run my operation. And market research data, it's going to cost you another additional week which is gonna lose another week of operation time. I think that's gonna provide less revenue also. So I want to take the chance with running food truck for all my 5 week. So with that being said, as you can see, the first week I go ahead and I chose the item was ice cream, and as you can see, the location I chose was art district. Now let's go back to see why the reason I did that. Because based on the information, like I said, I summarized from all different report. The art district does not have a ice cream store, which is considered either it could be an actual store or food truck. I mean, they only have a ice cream stand, and also they have a frozen yogurt store. And then another reason you see that our district, you have children, young couple, and older couple. Two of the three categories prefer ice cream, and because the reason we went over here, ice cream is definitely going to be popular and also generate more sales in those area. And finally, based on those two information, the food traffic and sales by location, our district, even though it's not the highest on the list, but it's a pretty high compared towards the top of the list. And over here, similarly, it also have a fair amount of food traffic. So that made me make the decision I want to use the ice cream in the art district to start off the food truck operation and take advantage of my food truck license. So that should generate a pretty fair amount of the revenue. And as you can see, it's not the overall the greatest compared to my other weeks, but it generated approximately pretty solid revenue for the first week of operation. And another thing I want to point out, it's each time you generate this information, the simulation is gonna provide you this, I should say, a little note from each time you're decision making, and give you a little notification, give you a little hint on what would you want to consider next time. As you can see, the first one says you are not allowed to park in front of any of the art district museum or theaters, which means pedestrians must cross a busy, chaotic intersection in order to reach you. So those information kind of add in a little more, I should say, information for you to consider, because if you don't pay attention on those, you might make some mistake. Oh, okay, why is my revenue is not going up? Because as you can see right here, that could have limited your traffic to get to the food truck and at the location. So you want to consider information like this each time. As you can see, I made my decision each time, and they pop up information based on your decision. They give you a little, I should say, a feedback or a little notification. So you want to consider those as well. And moving on to the second week, as you can see, the remaining the way, I changed my product because I noticed that at the beginning, I mentioned that the whole industry is shifting to a more healthy, more less, basically more of the demographic prefer your frozen yogurt, your smoothie over ice cream. So based on those information, overall, I made a decision to use, I believe this is frozen yogurt instead of ice cream. And then the second week, I start off this is at the let's take a look. It's a university. So the reason I did that, going back, as you can see, the competition column, university, obviously there's none of them there. So that leave a big, very big market growth opportunity at that specific location. And also, obviously, the university name tells itself, the majority of the target market is going to be either children, young adult, possibly a little adult. So as you can see, based on the information explained here, they all prefer frozen yogurt just as much as ice cream, if not better than ice cream. And going down to the demographic, the university, most of it your student, like we talk about. So that could give you that little age group. You can use your judgment, based on that. It gave me the information. I feel like young adult, including children, possibly will be in that area. And then the sales at the university, as you can see, is the highest of all of them. My apology, second highest, right below the beach area. So that give you, excuse me, more information on what you can do at the location with the frozen yogurt. So with that being said, let's go back to the observation. That, as you can see, give me a little increase on the overall revenue. I feel like because of that, I analyzed well with the report, and then that provides me the right strategy to implement at this specific location. And moving on to, oh, by the way, the feedback I was getting, as you can see, is right here. It says the recently expanded student dining hall now features a wide variety of desserts, snacks, and frozen treat, driving down demand for your product. So, so from that, I understand that there could be a little downfall that getting not as much, or as I should say, as expected sales, but because of the overall strategy I chose was to implement frozen yogurt at this location, I feel like I still successfully reached my expected result based on the demographic at the market and based on the opportunity from the competition. So I think that will be okay for this specific week. And then moving on to the third week, we did a frozen yogurt, as previously mentioned, for the rest of the week. And this is at the city market. So let's go back to the market data. Going down. City market, as you can see from the competition standpoint, you have a one ice cream store and one smoothie stand. So obviously they'll leave the empty slot for frozen yogurt. And as we talk about, frozen yogurt is a big market for young adult. So I decide to continue using frozen yogurt at this location, and also just based on other information such as foot traffic, sales by location. I want to change it out, see for what I can generate a little more, different location, maybe give a different result. And as you can see, city market, it's okay with the food traffic, and then also it's pretty impressive for the sales, which is about top three, the third spot. So I feel like they can give me fairly amount of revenue overall. So let's give it a try. And then based on information about the demographic. As you can see, city market have a lot of young couple and older couple. So the reason I did not choose ice cream, because even the older couple, as we all know, they prefer ice cream because there's an ice cream store, and you don't want to compete with a store because you're only a food truck. So the volume definitely is not going to be give you a competitive advantage. So you want to stick with what you do best. So I feel like my target market, I'm going to focus on young couple, because I'll sell the smoothie stand with my volume. So in that case, I chose frozen yogurt. And as you can see in the city market, young adult, frozen yogurt and smoothie have caught up in ice cream in popularity in this bracket. So with that being said, my frozen yogurt also keep up with my frozen yogurt previously at the university. As you can see, it's reached a pretty high overall revenue, and then the profit is definitely going to be relevant. So I was satisfied with this week as well. The information I got from the notification is health conscious regulars seem to drive the majority of the frozen yogurt sales at the market. That basically, I just felt like I made the right decision, because majority of your young adult and adult that come through the city market, that's matching their preferences. And also, as you can see, the overall frozen industry report, frozen treat in the food services, is increasing, and health conscious is a big trend. So I felt like not choosing ice cream instead of using frozen yogurt was the right choice. And moving on to the fourth week, which is frozen yogurt at the beach. And this one, before we dive into it, as you can see, it dropped down a little bit with the overall revenue. So we can go see why that happened. When you go back to market data, Let's go ahead and first check out the competition. So at the beach, you have a one frozen yogurt stand, one ice cream store. So that also leave me the decisions on, okay, what do I want to do? For sure, I don't want to implement ice cream store. The reason why is because, as you can see, the beach have mostly young family with children and students. So that give you a lot of a children and also some young adult maybe. Despite the fact that ice cream is really close to the ratio in the young adult section, but in children is dominant over the other two. So with that being said, ice cream store is going to sell in this location. So I don't want to use a food truck waste on ice cream at this location because I will not be able to compete. So frozen yogurt stand that give you a little bit opportunity to implement my food truck because I'm gonna have a better overall volume, and but I can only target the younger adult and the adult. But since they are very close, as you can see, the number here shows I won't get a big advantage, but I will get a somewhat similar result from the ice cream. And from the sales and food traffic for the beach section, as we already talked about, that will have a very, very good sales on the location. And for the food traffic, that's where downfall comes through. As you can see, there's the lowest traffic. And so overall, I felt like even though I was struggling a little bit to decide whether ice cream or food, a frozen yogurt, to implement because there's such a tempting different demographic, and but at the end, I feel like the frozen yogurt give the best strategy at this location, so I went with it. And as you can see, it's still pretty close to my ice cream overall in the first week, so it's not as greatest, but it provided a sufficient overall revenue, and I feel like based on the information, I maybe could be utilize a different strategy at this point, but I'm okay with at this point the fourth week of operation for a food truck and what I get from the frozen yogurt. And the information I received right here is explain that, as you can see, many of your customer at the beach are accompanying children who sometimes argue amongst themselves and have trouble making the correct change. This slows down the ordering process, causing long lines and lost customers. So that explains why the reason that there's a little dip in the overall revenue. As you can see, already don't have enough traffic like we talk about right here. And so with the only business I'm getting, and based on the information that here provided, that explain that sometimes maybe the long lane the way because of the children that's not very organized and lost the additional opportunity on the business. So that might be the reason also to you see the decrease of the overall revenue. So finally, let's talk about the fifth week, which is I decide battling back and forth. I did not go with a different location. The reason I'll explain later on, but I went back to as you can see, went back to the city market, and that provided similar overall revenue, which is I believe that this is the right decision I made, and obviously it's the same reason apply for the reason I did for on this location for the product. And you might ask why didn't you try a train station or downtown? And let's go back to this information. I'll explain why the reason I didn't do that. So as you can see, downtown, one smoothie store, one frozen yogurt store. Both are store. Going to have an overall greater volume than the food truck. So I don't want to compete in that section because, as you can see, not ice cream. So it's already healthy trend, already better overall volume than the food truck. And let's talk about downtown, the demographic. Working professional. So obviously you're competing with two store was the only target, which is the target that they're exactly nailed it, young adult and adult. So you're gonna lose on that overall business opportunity. So I don't want to go to downtown for that reason. And then train station, one frozen yogurt store. Once again, another store, bigger volume, bigger business capacity, and come to train station, working commuters. Demographic wise, as you can see, young adult, adult, once again, um, take up through this section of the target market. So I don't want to compete because if I put my food truck there, at best I can get some like every now and then information in business from them, but I won't be able to compete with the actual store. So for that reason, I did not choose to implement any food truck operation in downtown and the train station. So overall, after 5 weeks, as you can see, it was stay pretty consistent, steady for my operation. And then I did my operation based on what I just explained, my strategy. And I'm okay with the overall result just because I did not purchase market research as I mentioned in the beginning. So I forfeit that right to gain a little more insight. I took on the risk. However, I did use that actual week to generate a little more revenue. So I'm okay with that result. And once again, the reason I didn't choose push car is because it doesn't really generate enough revenue compared to food truck. Same reason with the food truck, you can compare with the store. So this simulation basically just like the focus on um, teaching us to how to using the information, analyze them, and so you can use your best judgment to make your decision on strategy and trying to reach the overall goal, which is maximum revenue and profit. So I feel like I gained a lot of insight on how to properly read this information, and that gave me a lot of good advice on how to use my product and use my strategy the right way. So I definitely recommend to take enough time to read this detail and then think over because as you can see, they provide a lot of useful information. So that's the food truck simulation we're doing today, and I hope this helps. And as you can see on the leaderboard, I did not the greatest, but pretty happy that I got second place. So hopefully you can use your information compared to others, classmate, and then reach your best result. And that's it.